All right. Good evening.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Evening.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing? So I think we're going to have to show the demo first because it's a huge feedback, even though I got the mic off.
I think that was actually at my end.
Oh, was it at your end? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Tracey, can you talk for us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, it was on my end.
Okay.
Perfect. Hey, we're professional quilters, not professional video audio people. How does that sound?
How you doing?
We got lots of people already in. Did you guys see? We got West Virginia, Oklahoma, Australia. Julie from Australia. Hello. We got Des
I
Moines.
recognize some names.
Yeah.
Debbie's here. Jesse's here. Nicole's here.
Woohoo! Time for a live. That is so awesome.
Deb's here from Des Moines.
Yeah. And Mari from
Darwin, Australia.
Yeah. And Lisa from Omaha, Nebraska. Pardon?
I just said I want to go to her country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's on.
Mavis. Mavis is here.
Woohoo! Mavis!
So everyone who's watching, pop in there. Let us know where you're from.
All right. We got Heather. Judy from Georgia.
City, state, country, province, all those things. Say hi.
Miss Paula Peasley from Omaha, Nebraska. I know her.
There you go. Marlene's there. Hey, Marlene.
Yeah. Excited about tonight's talk, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
I love me some ruler work.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. Slow but steady, right?
Mm-hmm. Ruler work just takes everything to the next level.
It does.
Yeah.
And it gives people the option who don't have a computer to look like it was kind of done by computer.
Yeah. Well, and you need them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. We got Washington State.
Rulers. Pardon?
We got Newfoundland.
Yep.
New York.
Nicole. Hi, honey.
This is pretty awesome. Wow, this is pretty awesome. Letting people get a chance to get in. Love the fact this is going to be about rulers. So get your questions ready. We'll answer some questions. We're going to do a little bit of a talk here first. We did not put everybody's name on there either. So let me see if I can fix that real quick.
Oops.
No, it's all good. You know, like I said, we got worried about talking about the other stuff, right?
That's right.
That's all good.
Well, Lisa said she's never tried ruler work.
Oh, you need to try. First thing you need, Lisa, is a ruler base for your long arm. Whatever brand you have, you need a ruler base for that brand of long arm. Never, ever, ever attempt ruler work, even a line this big with a ruler this big, without a ruler base.
Yep.
With our lives, we can't put our names on there. So why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? So Angela, you want to start?
Hi, I'm Angela Clark, and I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. My company is Threadwaggle Quilting, and I have a showroom for APQS in Raleigh.
Tracey.
I'm Tracey. I have Whirls and Swirls Quilting, and I have a showroom, rental studio. I do machine services. I'm a certified technician. I teach free motion classes. I have a YouTube channel. What else do I do? And I quilt for other people.
Mm-hmm.
All those things.
Look at this cute little comment from Debbie.
I'm a stitcher.
Maybe a driver in the ditch too.
She's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I'm Cathy Thayer, and I'm the co-owner of Fabric Bash. I'm my business partner is my son-in-law. We joke he gets to work with his mother-in-law every day, so it's fabulous. We have a quilt store in Omaha that is fabric and notions and rental program and doing the same thing with what these ladies are doing, YouTube, podcast. I fix the phone. I do my taxes. No, I'm just kidding. It's all that stuff we do as store owners. Yes, Marlene, we know Tracy is echoing a little bit. We're going to fix that here in just a little bit. There's a reason that there is, and if you give us a second to explain, it'll all make sense, okay? So, all right, how do you want to start, Miss Tracy?
Well, I really wanted to talk about rulers before I did that.
Okay.
But if that's going to be, if they can hear it, then that's
Yeah,
not.
I think we need to do the demo real quick.
Okay, so let me do my demo real quick, and then we can turn my second camera. The reason that I'm echoing is because I have two cameras open at the moment, and no matter what I do, I cannot get the machine camera to mute itself. So I've got it turned down, I've got it turned off, all those things, and I can still hear it. So I will move, and I will come over to here. So can you kill my large camera, maybe?
Yes, I was just going to let you know that, yes, I'm going to kill your large camera. I'm actually going to move you over. Angela and I are out, dear, so you can't hear us. So you just steal the show away, hon, okay?
Okay, but I can still see me big. I don't need to see me big. What's happening?
There you go, hon. I made you big. I'm going to make you big again. Every time I come in and out of the screen, it changes things around. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over here. And now, can you see how that is big here?
Well, I can see you and me and my machine. What happened to Angela?
I moved her out of the stream so we can make everything big. She's just right there.
Okay, so move me, my screen.
She wants her face taken off so you just see her machine.
Okay. So
I don't know if we're going to be able to hear her, though.
There. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to say, hello. It's an iPad, not a big professional camera. So it's going to be what it is. All right. So when you start with rulers, I'm a big fan of starting with a small ruler, a straight ruler, to get used to the rulers. One that is no bigger than your wingspan. The whole thing with rulers is you never stitch outside where you have control of the ruler. That makes sense? So with a small ruler, it kind of stacks the odds in your favor that you're not going to get all excited about what you're doing and you're going to stitch outside of where you have control. So with your ruler base on there, and I will show you that. I can't show you that right now. I'll show you that afterwards. What you want to do is I like my fingers up rather than have my hands flat. I like my fingers up and spread out so I have them on all points of the ruler. You don't want your hands back here because if my hands are back here, I have no control of what's right beside the foot. So I've got my hands close. You need to put enough pressure on the ruler so that it doesn't shift. But if you push too hard, you're actually pushing on the ruler base and it's going to make it really hard for you to move your machine because you're pushing too hard on the ruler base. So you're going to be working against yourself. So just enough pressure. I want you to, as you're moving the machine along the ruler, you're going to be dragging it in the direction you want it to go, but you're also going to be slightly pushing the ruler towards the ruler, and you're holding on to the ruler and without moving it, sort of pushing it towards the foot. Does that make sense to everybody? You're always going to start and stop on your ruler inside. I think about a half an inch. I'm not getting technical, just I don't want anybody starting way on the very corner or stopping way on the very corner. It's not safe. What can happen here is as you start, you can slip and you're going to fall off it, and that can be dangerous, okay? Using rulers, it takes time to get good at it, so it takes lots of practice. It's not something like free motion that you can get good at in a sketchbook. The only way to get good at rulers is to throw them on you throw some fabric on and play, okay? So again, and I'm not going to stitch because it's going to make too much noise. you want your handles comfortable. We're lucky we have these articulating handles, so this one can go way out of the way, so it doesn't matter where I'm positioned. And I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm basically just going to press down gently and pull this towards me, hugging them together, sort of a little bit of pressure this way and going in the direction that I want. I like to start and stop. Doesn't matter what shape ruler I'm using. I'm always working with my needle in the down position so that when I get to where I want to go and I want to change the position of my ruler, my needle is down, nothing's moving. Then I can drag it in the direction that I want to go. Okay? So this is going to be pretty much the same for any shape ruler that you're using. You do need to have the proper foot. With ABQS machines, they come with the high profile foot for using rulers with.
Hey, Tracey.
Yeah?
The echo is getting worse. Is it okay if we talk about that stuff here when we can get that camera out of the way? Because some people are having a hard time hearing.
There. Okay. I left.
All right. Let me get us back all in. There you go, sweetheart. That is so much better. It was awesome what you were saying. It was just really, the echo was hard for some of the ladies, some of the people here to hear.
Oh,
And
that sucks.
I know. And Jesse was fabulous and said, hey, the echoes will go away as soon as Tracey turns off that camera. He was fabulous.
Was he? All right. Well, I don't know how to make that. I don't know how to make that happen. So no more two cameras. Anyways.
We'll figure it out. We figured out quilting. We can figure out that later. It just takes a little bit more brain power.
Yeah.
All right.
So basically always have control of the ruler. Always, 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 always have your fingers close. No sense having them back here. Nothing. You have no control. If my fingers are back here, it can tip. If you're starting and stopping on the very edge, you can fall off it. Trust me, the first time you break a needle on a ruler, it's going to scare the bejeebers out of you. First of all,
Yeah.
You can ruin your ruler. You will absolutely break a needle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been many years since I broken a needle on a ruler, but the first time it happened to me, I nearly peed myself.
Right.
Scary.
Right.
It's pretty scary. So,
Really well, and if you have a rental program and people are renting and you do that, it's a really scary sound to them too.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Ooh, let me unmute you.
I apologize for the echo. So
I
that's
unmuted
my
myself.
little demo. Never mind the demo. No demo today.
Oh, you did do the demo.
We'll just talk about
yeah.
rules.
It just was very echoey and reverberated with great magnitude of knowledge.
Yeah.
The echo is really irritating to listen to, though. I know.
Yeah.
Because I could hear myself echoing.
So something like, remember when we were using Switcher all those years ago, Tracey? Something like that would make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got Suzette Kane just popped in.
Yeah.
And so when you let's start out again. So your favorite ruler, Tracey, was what you said, the very smallest, is very small ruler, right?
Well, I think when you're starting with rulers, you should start with a small one. I've got a whole table full of stuff here. It's like bringing snacks to a party, except it's acrylic, right? So there are going to be times when you're going to want longer, bigger rulers. When you get comfortable with rulers, you can use these. But I want you to be comfortable with rulers before you start using really large ones, because if you start with these, and it's just going from my students, right? When you've got a ruler this big, you forget, you get so involved in stitching the line that you forget all the safety precautions. And then you're starting to, you've got your hand here, and then they're creeping and they're still stitching up here, but their hand is way back here. That's why I want everybody to start with a small ruler, because it doesn't give you a choice. You've only got that big.
Right.
And generally, when you start using rulers, it's in the beginning, you're stitching in the ditch. You don't need an 18-inch ruler to stitch in the ditch, right? These are easier. Yeah.
This is my favorite. Is mine that I have is a 2x6. Yours is what, a 3x6?
Oh, that's little. Mine's a 3x7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still like this one. It just my hand's smaller. It's nice. We have a couple questions here. I'm going to just pop some up. I got from Mavis. She goes, I find that up, down, left, right is easier than doing angles. Is that something? Is that
Just
just
more
me, or
practice.
is it more practice?
Yeah, more practice. That's all.
Okay. And then Susie said, oh, I forgot. You guys every Wednesday?
Yeah, once a month on the third Wednesday for the live. And then we're also doing a podcast every Monday called Three Quirky Quilters. And that goes live at like 2 p.m. on Mondays. Is that right, Cathy?
Yes.
Yep.
2 p.m. Eastern time.
Eastern time. Sorry.
You're
Two of
good.
us are Eastern.
Quilting Academy YouTube channel.
Yep.
Lisa, I have no poker face. Just so you know, no poker face at all. No poker face. She said I'm smiling and nodding my head and pursing my lips. Yep.
Well, I think what was happening with Angela there was she was waiting to say something, and Cathy and I weren't giving her a moment to get a word in edgewise. So please, Angela, go ahead.
I'm the one that didn't bring my assignment home with me from the showroom. So unlike Cathy and Tracey, they broadcast from their showrooms.
Because we have no life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they go live from their showrooms. I'm actually at my house, and the only thing I brought home with me was the little thing that you need to put on an expo marker if you are using rulers on a whiteboard or using rulers with an expo pen on a whiteboard. I left all my rulers at the showroom where they belong.
Okay. We do have one question from Deb here that says she has a 2011 Lenny and she knows she does not have a 1/4-inch foot.
Yeah.
And she says I know I don't have a 1/4-inch foot, but
that is true. She has a 3/8 foot, which is what we used to ship with a long time ago. Deb, if you get your Lenny upgraded with a new quick change hopping foot, it would come with a 1/4-inch foot, and then yes, you would be able to put that scoop foot on there as well. But they're not going to upgrade you with a solid shaft. If they need to replace that hopping foot, they're going to put a quick change foot on it.
Hello, Darlis. Awesome. What about colored rulers? There's so many colored rulers out there. What do you guys think about colored rulers? I love her table. My God.
Yeah, she's got the table in front of her. Some colors are great. Tracey and I had this great idea to do dark blue rulers at one point. They're not so good. They're really hard to see through. So some colors are good because you can really see them, like those yellow, green colors.
What is that pink thing, Tracey? My goodness.
Yeah, the hot pink ones are hard to see through.
Okay, so in my shop at the back underneath my Millie 30, I have a 3-drawer unit, and I call it the drawer unit of bad decisions. It is full of acrylic that I thought was going to make me a better quilter. Yeah, that's all. So these came out of that drawer.
I think we all have.
There's a lot of acrylic back there.
Okay, so yeah, I have probably thousands of dollars of acrylics, and I mean, most people know me as a computerized quilter and an educator for our computer system. But before I got a computer, all I did was free motion quilt and use rulers. So I have thousands of dollars in acrylic. Tracey does too, for sure. And probably half of it was bad decisions. So,
well, I have no impulse control.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
Ever at all with anything. So, you see something, you think, oh, that's awesome. That'll work. Mm-hmm. Most of this stuff I've never even used once.
So things that I found that don't work well for me are anything you have to puzzle piece together. Over time, it gets loose and it doesn't work the way that I want it anymore. So if you have to break it apart, put it around your foot and put it back together to make a circle, those tend to get loose over time. Those don't, when they're still tight, they work fine. but I find I have to replace them often. So there's that too, right? So it's not just like a color not being the right color. I can tell you, I don't like completely clear rulers either. So I don't like.
Darn, mine's out the window.
Yeah. But yours has enough markings on it that it's not completely clear. I like Tracey's. It's kind of that green off color, because you can see it sitting on your quilt top. So you can, especially on APQS machines, if you are putting your quilt top, if you're pinning it onto your quilt top roller, and you have your backing pinned on too, you have this nice little shelf that's really handy to set your rulers on. And then when you forward your quilt, if you don't move those rulers, they end up between your quilt top and your batting and your backing. So I'm not even going to tell you how many times I've had to pick out stitching to get rulers out of my quilt top. And they've always been clear because they sit on top of the batting and I don't see them.
Right. Okay, we have a good question here. What ruler would you suggest for curves?
I like inside curves.
You're going to want rulers that have an inside and an outside curve.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Susie?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with curves, Susie, is you will need multiple sizes because the curves are different. So a ruler like this, this is called a little curve buddy. And it does 2 and 3 inch curves inside and outside. So this would be used on something that's quite small, right? Like a small angle. When the ruler gets larger and the arc gets shallower, then you're going to be able to use those on larger things. So you are going to have them in multiple sizes, right? Depending on what it is you're doing. Same with circles. When you get circles, you're going to need multiple sizes because a circle is a circle. Like it only will make the size that it is. But you can do so much with them.
All right, Tracey, when you start doing the show and tell, give me a heads up.
Yeah.
I'll make you big like that. That was fabulous to make your picture big so we could see that a lot better.
Cathy's getting fancy schmancy with this StreamYard back in there.
Oh, burn some gray cells between the brain. That's all I'm doing.
There, did you see in the chat? Red Knits says, I've seen that drawer.
I like that those rulers there have like a nesting place to nest your hopping foot before you get started. So that's really nice too. Those nesting places can be a nice place to put your needle down, take a break, rest my shoulders a little bit.
Well,
right?
I wanted those. These are mine, but I wanted rulers specifically, and again, just through teaching people, a ruler with a stopper. It's a safety thing. Right? Instead of just keep going, keep going, and then they fall off. This forces you to stop. Because when you're doing a curve, you're really only using, you're not using the entire ruler anyway, right? You're just kind of using in here. So the stopper it was for safety. And it also gives you the straight edge on the edge too. So if you want to sneak in the ditch, you can just flip it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and Tracey and I have the same rulers because Tracey came up with the idea, and then I worked on the CAD part of it to get them cut, right? So she's the designer part of it, and I helped her implement them.
Right. And Jesse, I have some rulers as well because I also have a laser cutter. So I get to make my own, which is kind of fun. And I think that's part of the entrepreneur part of us of having businesses is we like to make kind of our own rulers, which is kind of fun. So.
So Darlis just asked, about rulers for domestic machines. You can use the same rulers. You just need to make sure that you have that 1/4 inch foot for your domestic machine. But you can use any ruler a Longarmer can use as long as you have that 1/4 inch foot for your domestic machine as well.
Okay. So
high profile.
High profile.
You need a 1/4 inch
profile thick ruler so that it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you have the quarter-inch foot on your domestic machine along with the quarter-inch ruler. So riddle me this, ladies. Somebody came and kind of stumped me because I think kind of like, as a quilter. So as I'm thinking about my domestic machines and my long arms, there are rulers that are quarter-inch rulers that say high shank and low shank. It's a quarter-inch ruler, right?
I think that might make a difference though for domestic machines.
But if you can use a quarter-inch ruler, it shouldn't matter what the shank is.
Right. That's
because the acrylic is still going to be a quarter-inch.
Right. But I don't think all, and I could be wrong. I'm not a domestic machine person. I know that there's a brand of rulers specifically for domestic machines, and they're not quite a quarter of an inch thick. Right. So I think in that situation, it depends what machine you have, whether you can use those rulers that aren't quite a quarter of an inch thick. If you have those rulers, I think they're called Westerly. Mm-hmm. Is that the name of them?
I know Westerly used to make long arm rulers a long time ago.
There's somewhere though that's making rulers for long arms or rulers for domestic machines, but they're not quite a quarter of an inch. So those
it may be Westerly now. I know they used to make them for long armers. They don't make long arm rulers anymore.
Okay.
Or they don't market them to long armers anymore.
Well, and the way you could do that, and that's true, that there's some of our folks are bumping and they have some low shank rulers that they must be a little bit not quite a quarter of an inch. So what you can do is take two of your cutting rulers and put them together to see if that will go up underneath your low shank if you have a low shank, because that's an eighth and an eighth, and that equals a quarter in my world. And then you can just before you invest any money in a quarter-inch ruler, you can test your machine. So there is a MacGyver for everything that we do, and we are fabulous quilters in the whole quilting world. That's why we like to hear from you guys as well. Our fabulous MacGyvers on how we can test, not use. You cannot use 2 1/8-inch rulers. I'm not saying that ever.
I'm so glad you clarified that.
I was going to too.
Concerned.
Oh, no. But you can at least just test it to see if it goes underneath without spending any money on a quarter-inch ruler. As soon as you take that 2 seconds and go, oh, yes, it can, you walk those 2 rulers away from that foot and never use them that way ever again.
Okay, good. Good.
So people are saying that there are different sizes that Westerly is doing.
Okay.
But my question, I would want to see a low shank machine and see why, because if they're saying they can use a quarter-inch specifically one.
Right.
And high shank and long arm. So here's the thing that for domestic quilting machine rulers, they charge a lot more for them typically. And usually they're the same as the long arm rulers.
Yeah.
So
be wary and be educated on what the actual size is when you go make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For long arms, they absolutely have to, without a doubt, be a quarter
inch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're just not safe otherwise.
Yeah. Right. So you don't want to buy like a 3/8-inch ruler. That would not be fun. Because I can pop my hopping foot onto a quarter-inch ruler. If it was 3/8, I could really pop it up there easy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Darlis, when we talk about a quarter-inch, we're talking about the height of the ruler.
The thickness of it. The thickness of the acrylic.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got the width and the length, and then there's the height or the thickness. So the reason is it's all about the safety of your machine. We just need to, and it's only just a guide. You don't, like Tracey said in her demo, you don't push hard against each other because first of all, that's going to cause more friction and you working harder, and those muscles are going to hurt harder, right? Shoulders as you push so hard and push down, right, Tracey?
Yeah, and you can also cause tucks and puckers in your backing fabric if you're pushing too hard because you're squashed, like you're mashing everything.
Right. it's a guide to help, but they're not always just they're the great answer, but they're not always a perfect answer because of what you had said earlier, right? The shapes, it's a defined shape, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's also rulers. All right. So some rulers you will find, these are all etched with very, very fine, little tiny dots every 1/4 of an inch. This particular one has 45-degree angles. Some rulers on the market are painted with those lines, not etched. The problem with the painted ones is over time, and not over lots of time either, the paint will start to wear off and then you won't have your registration lines anymore. So when you're looking for rulers, make sure that you're looking for rulers that have the etched markings in them because they'll always be there.
Right.
Okay.
And you can tell that it's etched because your fingernails, when they go across it, make a little sound. Because there's an actual groove in the ruler, whereas the paint's on the outside. And sometimes I don't feel that as well. You okay there, Angela?
So Ada was telling me she needed to go outside. Matt is right on the other side of his quilt. For some reason, she's not bugging him. So I just told Matt to take Ada outside.
Oh, fine. You're fine.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're live.
So we're live, and like you'll see it eventually. There is one where Ada actually jumps in my lap and puts her tongue up my nose. So I didn't want that to happen again.
Yeah, Darlis for Janome 12,000. You're going to want a 1/4 inch ruler. It's not a low shank. You're fine, sweetheart. So that's good, and I'm glad you're going to come see me tomorrow. I'm so excited. Lisa has a phenomenal question.
She does.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Start with straight, then move to curved, then go to circles. When I teach my classes here and I teach my new owners classes, that's how we start with rulers. We start with the small straight one, then we do a soft curve, then we do a deeper curve, and then we move to a circle because you want to get used to it, right? As you start to work with curved shapes and circles, remember when I did my very echoey demo and I said you're sort of, it's like a push against each other. When you're working with curved shapes, as you're coming around that, you've got to make sure that you're hugging the shape. So the pressure that you're putting, the angle that you're putting the pressure on is going to change as you go around the shape. So here I'm pushing against here I'm pushing down, but still coming around. And then as you come around here, you're pushing to the left or to the right, whatever you're seeing. And then as you come under, you're pushing up. So it's always better to start with a straight ruler, a small one, and get comfortable with that feeling first, and then move to the curve so you can get used to it gradually, and then swing yourself into a circle is my recommendation.
And Lisa has a phenomenal thing. Just like piecing.
Yeah. Do all the straight stuff first.
Right. Yes. Like that's really good. So that's really good. All right.
Yvonne said, oops, I did circles, wavy, and then straight. It's okay, Yvonne. If that worked for you, that's great.
Yep.
Right. Some of us are rule breakers. I apparently am we're rule breakers, we're quilters, we are MacGyvers, we are good. Yes.
Oh, that's a good question.
If no one tells you something's difficult first before you try it, you don't know.
Yep.
And you just do it and make it work.
So Susie has a good question too. Would you use no slip dots on your rulers? So there's no slip dots. You can use sandpaper dots. There is spray that you can put on them. There's adhesive, kind of a rubber adhesive thing that you can put on the backs of your rulers that makes it no. Hugo's amazing tape is what Tracey's holding up. You do want something non-slip on the back of those rulers so that it'll grip your fabric a little bit, but all of those will work. So,
there's actually a glue too that was down at Market, and I don't have it anymore because it didn't sell very well in my store. But it has, you can put some sort of sticky. But it was made for a ruler for self. But you mentioned that, I wasn't listening. I was looking at questions.
It's okay. I went through it. Yeah.
The incredible tape is good because you can cut it into
spray. Yeah.
and you can peel it off one ruler.
And put it on another one.
You can just peel it off. And I first discovered the incredible tape when I worked at that quilt shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I used it on the back of an Eleanor Burns flying geese ruler because it kept slipping while I was trying to cut my template with my flying geese. And I stuck a piece of this on the back, and I was so excited with the grip that it gave me that I took it home and started just putting a strip of it on the back of all my long arm rulers, and then you can move it. You can also use this grippy non-slip coating.
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of my students said she uses it on her domestic, like her cutting rulers.
Mm-hmm.
Said you should try it. So I got it in, and it's fabulous. You just have to be careful with it that you don't put too much on there, because see how my ruler's a little cloudy?
Mm-hmm.
Not too cloudy that I can't see through it, but if you overspray this, it will make this completely frosted. I'm going to go out on a limb here. This stuff says that you need something specific to take it off the ruler. This stuff works really good.
What is that stuff?
It's just contact cleaner.
Oh,
It's non-flammable. It smells horrible, but one little spray and some wipe with a paper towel, and it takes all this stuff off the back of your rulers. Doesn't damage the rulers at all. Just a quick, easy way to get rid of it if you want it off.
fabulous. Those are great.
And contact cleaner is great to have if you have a computer too, because you can clean your USB connections with it. You can clean the telephone connections, the R6 connections, and things like that with it. Contact cleaner is great.
I use it for far more things than I think.
And Cathy's like, "You guys are weird." Yeah.
No. I love it. I love that there's so like different, many ways and the same, that it's all of these trials, The first person who does that is like, oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. And they didn't know they couldn't do it. Right? You don't know you can't do it until you know you can't do it.
Or until somebody says you can't do that, that's difficult, and then you never try because you believe them.
You know what they need to do to brand new engineers when they first started engineering firms? They give them a brand new whiteboard, and somebody will come up that day and write on it with a Sharpie. Because you want to see an engineer freak out, put Sharpie on their whiteboard.
Oh, funny.
But the trick is you just draw over it with the Expo pen, with a whiteboard pen, and it wipes right off.
Right away. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's a lesson in, calming down a little bit, not being so stressed out.
Well, that's a great leadway into ruler work is not fast.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So needle down, ending in the needle down position, your best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
I find ruler work, what's the word? I lose myself in that. Hours and hours can go by.
Yeah, I find it cathartic. It is relaxing to me.
It is. And you're going slow. There's no rush. You're not, plowing through something. And you just get into I just get into the groove.
Kathleen, I'm going to suggest you just get a straight ruler to start out with and not buy a bundle of rulers.
Right. Because you might find that this is not your jam.
Yeah. That was when I first started long arming. There was a company that if you went to a long arm show, they would sell you $1,500 worth of acrylic. And it had every ruler you would ever need in your career. And then I found out I didn't like any of their rulers, but I had $1,500 worth of acrylic from them. So yeah, you want to find the rulers that you like and then invest in them and not buy a bunch of rulers you're not going to use. And I would suggest buying rulers from multiple different places.
Yes. And there's different ones that have angles on them as you hold them. There's ones that have holes in them. There's some that have the round tube on top of them as grippers. What would you guys say about that?
Well, there's all kinds. I mean, like I said, my drawer unit of bad decisions. There's all kinds of gadgety rulers out there. Ones that you think, oh, that's going to be awesome. I love that shape. Most of those gadgety rulers can be the things that they will do, whether they make diamonds or whatever. Most of those shapes you're going to get easier with just a straight ruler, right? If you've got a ruler that is marketed to make diamonds in a sashing, let's say, well, that's great as long as your sashing happens to be exactly the same size as that piece of acrylic. Because if it's not exactly the same size, your needle's not going to land where you want it to land. Whereas if you're doing the same thing with a straight ruler, you can tweak it and make it land where you need it to land, depending on the size of the shape that or the size of the space that you're working in, right?
Yeah.
I think the only specialty ruler that I used a lot was one that did rope borders, and I did a lot of rope borders one year. I did a lot of the same quilt over and over and over, and everybody wanted the same border put on it because I put it on one. But it was one that you could adapt when you got to the corners. And that's the only real like gadgety specialty ruler that I used more than 1 or 2 times. Most of the time it was straight and curved circles.
Right.
And that was it.
We got a great comment from Debbie. That's what she did. She did ruler work without people telling her it was too hard, and she did a fantastic job. And look at, she impressed herself. That's so cool. Way to go, Debbie. That's awesome.
Yay!
Awesome. I've seen Debbie's work. It's phenomenal.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
she's a very talented woman.
Then here's a good one. Have you marked your top with using rulers?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little bit less with rulers. Sometimes it can be a lot more. Depends on what you're doing.
I don't
And-
mark every line, but I do mark registration dots. You know, like if you want to make sure you're hitting a certain point, you could drop a little dot.
Yeah. So like if you're coming up to like if you're doing like Hershey Kisses and you're coming up to a point and then coming down to a point, I'll mark the lines I need to come up and hit and come back down, but I won't mark like every inch typically across my borders.
Right.
And I know Tracey does it the same way because I've watched her do it.
Right. And then a couple curves. There you go.
Yeah.
A couple curves. There you go.
Yeah. I wonder who told her that one.
Yeah, I wonder
Really,
who
that was
did.
Tracey.
I know.
It's true though. And you know, I just want people to learn from all my bad decisions. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, 3 full drawer units. The thing is so heavy I can't even pull it out from under the Longarm. It's got so much junk in there.
So
You're
yeah.
15 years old and still have the paper on the back.
Yeah. I mean, you could go out and spend several $1,000s on acrylic you're not going to use, or you could take a class with Tracey. I mean,
Right.
it's a no-brainer, guys.
Right.
Those classes don't cost thousands of dollars.
No, they don't. You'll save lots of money and your education will be better.
And I already showed that. Sorry. Not right.
That's not saying that that Cathy and I don't teach classes too, because we do.
Yeah,
We do.
do.
We all do.
We all teach classes.
Right. Right. I will say there's certain brands that have all the shapes and doing all of the funky things. You need 50,000 rulers by my side. I just that hurts my brain to think too much for me. I think there's some very good valid combinations of free motion / ruler work to get the same effect. For me, that there's ruler work is already thinking, and it is just one of those things that for me.
So like I went out and bought a set of concentric squares. Now think about this for a second. Concentric squares. What was I thinking? Started at 1 inch, went all the way out to 15 inches every ½ inch. That's a lot of money in acrylic. I can draw a square and use a regular ruler with it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. It was when I was new and I was, I used a lot of rulers, but I found that I used the same rulers over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Mavis, slightly off topic, regarding marking with rulers, favorite marking pen?
I use the Keurig blue water soluble marker.
Yeah.
It's way better than a different brand of blue water soluble marker. It lasts longer. You can get a nice long line with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like the Bowen chalk pencil.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, yes,
I like
yes.
chalk.
Only the white.
Only white chalk.
Don't use pink, yellow, blue, green, purple chalk on your quilts.
No.
Yeah. And I do like air erase markers too, but Mavis has just moved down into my area from living somewhere that was a little more arid than it is now. If you're used to using air erase where you used to live, Mavis, your air erase is only going to last about 4 hours where you live now. So just know that as well, is that humidity is what takes those air erase markers away. If you live in a high humidity area, you don't have very long with them. But for really quick things that I do want to disappear quickly, I'll use air erase markers as well.
Mhm.
Awesome. There you go. And
but
then,
I don't use Frixion pens ever.
Oh God, no.
No, please. And no blue. No blue.
No blue. Not a ruler question, but what is the best at marking stitch pattern on a quilt double wedding ring? I think we just kind of talked about those just already, Galen. Hopefully that answered your question.
So if she's got a stencil, pounce.
Yeah.
Right. Pouncing
If you're marking it with a stencil, you can, or if you stitch through it, if it's paper and you stitch through it on your domestic, you can also pounce it. And you can get something called glow powder that can be mixed in with your pounce, and then it will fluoresce if you have a black light. So on the APQS machines, we have a black light, or you can just put a black light bulb into one of your lamps, and it'll fluoresce as well.
Right.
But I don't use it straight because it's expensive.
Right. Everybody's asking, what blue pen did you say again, Tracey?
Kearing, Kearing. They're on my website.
Okay.
They are truly my favorite. I found them years ago and they just last so much longer. They're wonderful.
They also come out easy.
Okay, Lisa, Nebraska also is not a great place for. So again, we just went from. I was talking to Angela the other day, and my computer was having some issues. She's asked me what the humidity was. I said it was 27% humidity in the room, and the next day it was 47. So just keep in mind, if a storm's rolling through, some things like that, that purple will not be your best friend, and you're just doing double, triple the work. That's to be so sad about it. Just marking again.
Yeah, don't use it on days that you have rain, because you'll be at close to 100% humidity, and it won't last at all.
Right. Now that we're talking about stencils and rulers, what's your favorite stencil?
I like stencils that mark sizes, like 1-inch lines, 1-inch grids.
Yeah.
I probably have 1/2 inch, 1 inch, maybe even a 2-inch set. But I like stencils that I can mark quickly and, are sizing and not designs necessarily.
Mm-hmm. You can
do, especially in the negative spacing, right?
Hmm?
Especially in negative spacing, that works really well to have the shapes in negative spacing.
Oh yeah,
have the sizing. Yeah,
I love my 1-inch square grid ruler.
Mm-hmm.
Not ruler.
Stencil.
Stencil. Yeah, I love it.
I use that one. My 1 inch is probably my go-to stencil, because you can sight a 1/2 inch off of a 1-inch stencil. It's just cutting it in half, right? So it's an easy one to mark, and you don't have as many lines as if you were doing a 1/2 inch. You've got a lot more lines.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's necessarily a brand that's better than another for stencils. I think there's some really neat stuff that's coming out that lasers have been developing and helping with some of these new stencils. There's some great stuff. I'm hoping that I was talking to Cathy McKillop about when we go to market again. I hope there's some more new notions coming out. I hope notions will be something that we can go down and see. And that would be what I would consider these stencils.
Yeah.
So.
As far as I know, there's just the there's like your plastic mylar, I guess, like the blue stencils that are cut out,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's also I've got full line.
Mm-hmm. The
full
green
line
ones with the mesh, full line stencils.
They're more like a meshy fabricy, and they're screen printed,
Mm-hmm.
so they give you a much finer line.
Yeah,
which is nice.
I do like full line stencils a lot.
Yeah,
I do too, for sure. I have them in the store, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So question went rolling by. Joan Workman, and I know what the answer to this question, we can all say it all at the same time. What's your favorite ruler? And we're all going to say mine.
Ours.
My little straight ruler is my favorite.
It's my favorite. So
Just a small straight ruler. You can do so much with that ruler. Really, you can.
I even feel going, and this is going to sound crazy, but I like going around applique with this little ruler because I can still maneuver it as I'm going around the corners. I'm just using this to steady that. I just go boom, kind of over around that applique kind of stuff. So you can do curves with a straight ruler.
Stitches are straight, so why not?
Right. So I was waiting for that one, Joan. I thank you for asking that one. Here's a good question with using stencils. The vibration and bouncing off before you get to the line.
So I'm not marking my entire quilt, right? I'm only marking the area that I'm quilting at that time, right? So I want it to go away by the time I get done with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird learning how far to mark is important. But yeah, I don't like marking it heavy either. So I just barely put the pounce on there. And I can typically still see it at the end, and unless you're working on white fabric. If you're working on white fabric, you're going to need something like glow powder in it. Okay, so here's my thing. If blue powder worked, we wouldn't have barely blue. Okay. And yellow powder, I have a quilt that I marked with yellow chalk. It was the very first quilt I ever quilted with my domestic sewing machine. So we're talking 2004. It has been washed so many times and still has yellow lines on it, guys. So I will put glow powder in that is still white and doesn't permanently mark my quilts. But if I'm using white fabric, I'm going to mark with either water soluble or air erase and not pounce it. But yeah, most of the time you can still see it faintly, and you just need to faintly see those lines to be able to hit them. Do you have anything that you do to make it stay longer, Tracey?
Well, I do want to say one thing. Just reading the way she worded her question, she said that the pounce is vibrating off the fabric.
Yeah.
If your fabric is vibrating, I don't know if it's Mari or Marie, your backing fabric and your quilt top are pulled too tight.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's that too.
Stitching, your fabric should not be vibrating. That means it's pulled too tight. So loosen everything back just a little bit because it shouldn't be your fabric shouldn't be bouncing.
Yeah.
Right. Just a tad, just a little bit. The other thing too, what we're talking about when we're talking about with all this is we didn't grab a marker and are pouncing with the glow thing on there and work on the first customer quilt. That was, we practiced on some practice material first. Okay.
We probably should have.
We did?
I would at least a
Did
little.
we do that?
Okay,
Tracy and I are like,
maybe potentially try that. There's that option.
Well, I didn't practice on anything. I just went at it.
I didn't either. I should have, but I didn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Lessons learned. Would you have gone back and told yourself to go back and practice maybe just a little?
No.
No, I stitched in the ditch on the first customer quilt that I did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, but that's not marking. I'm talking like marking tools. They say to test them. I'm talking pounce pads and marking stuff. Not
I was using marking tools that other people were using successfully too. Like, so I had bought marking tools that other people had told me would work. So yeah, here's the thing. If it's not going to come out of their quilt top because they haven't washed it, they're still sizing in it. I mean, are you going to find that out if you do it on practice cloth? If there's a chemical in that quilt that's making that marker not come out, you may not even find it out if you do test it beforehand. Scary to think of, right? But so, I mean, most of the ones in the industry are going to come out. As far as like water erase, air erase, friction pins are not coming out.
No, friction pins are not coming out.
So, which I know people say that they do, but Guys, I started out with a pink Frixion pen. I wanted to see what would happen. So I got my first one of those to write secret notes to my nephew with on paper. And we sent them back and forth. And it was a way he could talk to me without his parents knowing what he was saying. His parents were going through a divorce, so we wanted him to have someone that he could talk to. And, so our conversations were private between the two of us. So the first one I sent to him, I told him how he could read the message. And then he would put his in the freezer, or he'd iron them to make them go away. And I'd put them in the freezer so I could see them. Right. So then I started testing it on fabric. There's a medium in there that will not come out. So when you wash your fabric, you'll still have like a slick line on there that won't come out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start heating and cooling that line, it will come back, the line itself. So I was using a bright pink Frixion pen on white fabric, and it kept coming back. And, I'd iron it, it would go away, I'd come back, right? I threw it in my freezer at one point because I was irritated because it had come back and left it there for like 6 months. When I came back after it had been in there for 6 months, it was brown and it will not disappear anymore.
Wow.
So there's no way I would use it on fabric.
Right. Well, I think I have them on my front desk. I'm going to not lie. I have them on my front desk, but more for piecing, for when people are cutting it away.
Right. And I agree with that. There's times that I will use them when I'm piecing. That's an entirely different application, right?
Right.
It's not on the surface of the quilt where you're going to see it.
Right. There's something about going and reading reviews and tried and true from quilters who've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. And I know that they're marketed and that they say that they're going to go away. I know they are. They do. And I'm like, not the experience that I've had with them. And I mean, your experience may vary. I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. If you like them, go ahead and use them. They're just not, they are not a tool that is in my long arming.
Yeah, me too.
I don't
I
keep them on my show.
use them all the time and love them and say that they're the best thing ever. You do you, boo. I'm good.
Right.
I've had the same experience with them leaving that ghost line and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. I just like my white chalk and my blue water soluble marker. That's all I use.
Yeah.
And that's not a little bit on the keep it simple, stupid method, right? Keep it, for me, it's like keeping things simple. I lose my scissors all day long. If I had all of these rulers that I had to keep track of, I would drive my staff insane and myself as well. But that's just me. Other people are uber organized and this is what they want to do. So no judging you. If you want 127 different curved rulers, go for it. That's awesome. So, but that's a whole nother bag of worms, a whole nother can of rulers we could talk about, right?
Yeah. And my favorite ruler is actually smaller than even the one Tracey uses. It's about the size of the palm of my hand.
Wow.
So it's just for stitch in the ditch. I mean, the little stitch in the ditch line is only about that long on it. So it's constantly moving the ruler, but it's comfortable for me. Right. So I do use the same one that Tracey does too. But I use the stitch in the ditch ruler more often. It's got two little things on it that stick out. So I know right where my ditch is going to be.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's nice too.
Cheater knobs. So yeah.
So 3 best advice of what we would give for people when they're starting out for rulers. Oh, there went my quilt.
What happened?
It fell off.
What does that mean? That's like when you're walking or driving and a street light goes out above your head. That's never a good thing either.
My store is telling me it's time to go home. No, I'm just kidding.
Normally her lights go off, my camera goes off.
And that's why if anybody wants to know why I move a little bit all the time in here, because I don't want my lights to go off. I'm not trying to make you dizzy, I promise.
Okay.
All right, look at this. Lisa's going through all of her notions now and checking for friction bands. That's so awesome, Lisa.
They'll be tagged. Atta girl.
Yes, pilot's going to come look for me next, right? Oops.
Right.
Yeah, well.
So what would be your number 1 hint, Tracey, for somebody starting with rulers?
Be patient with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and be safe.
Yes.
Be safe. Never stitch past where you have control of the ruler. Be willing to move your fingers quite often. Just be mindful when you're quilting with rulers. It's not like free motion where you can think about life's biggest mysteries, listening, whatever. With ruler work, I'm paying attention. Funny enough, me, who can't pay attention to anything for very long, I can focus. Yeah.
Right.
Just
Focus
be
is a good one.
Mhm.
Yeah. What would be your number one after that one? Angela, what would be your number one?
Don't push down too hard, because on top of the things that Tracey talked about earlier, if you push down too hard and you're moving your machine, you can actually get loops of thread on the back of your quilt if you're stopping the movement of the long arm when it's trying to move. So it's a gentle pressure down. Tracey did say that. But yeah, I'm with Tracey. Give yourself some time to play and practice. And it's something you really have to practice at, but it doesn't take a long time to get skills at it. So, practice it for a little while and then throw a quilt on and do some ditch work, do some ruler work, right? Mm-hmm. It's something you've got to play with.
Right.
What about you?
Me. So I used to be a massage therapist. I guess always a massage therapist. So what I would tell people in free motion and doing any work on the long arm in general, when I teach my renters, I would say with ruler work especially, try to see if you have a way to get a stool, or if you have the lift to lift your machine. Like we have the hydraulic lifts on our machines. I always joke. So my husband's 6'7". I am bringing down the gene pool at 5'4". Yeah. So I bring down the gene pool to my family. But I never thought I got the lift for Jake and Anna to work with on the long arm, because they're 6 feet tall and 6'4". And I'm like, my gosh, I use that thing all the time. So it's one of my greatest tools for my machine, is to be able to bring that up a little bit so I can relax and have my ears over my shoulders. That's one of the things to help. And then also to stop every so often and roll your shoulders and take a breath. It's all about breathing and ruler work to me, like what Tracey said. Just be patient and breathe.
It should be a Zen time, like focused, relaxed, shoulders dropped, not stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think of rulers too as like a boundary. There's a boundary, like there's that line I'm on. I'm going down that line. I don't need to say, do I need to do a swirl right now? Do I need to do that? Like there's that little line. There's that beautiful marching orders for me with a ruler. So kind of thing.
It takes your quilting to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Ruler work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And learning to divide space up with rulers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I was reading a question.
Oh, learning to divide space up with rulers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Woo, yes. Oh, yes.
And at first, you may not really, beyond stitching in the ditch, you may not feel like you have, well, what do I do with them? Well, what shapes do I make? Like all that kind of stuff. The more comfortable you get with the rulers, the more creative you'll get. Just like with your sketchbook, when you start doodling in your sketchbooks, the more you do it, the more creative you get and the more ideas you get. The same thing happens with ruler work. The more you use them, the more comfortable you get with them, the more creative you get with them. And you'll be amazed at some of the things you can create when you got some rulers. Yeah.
So Susie asked another question. You just need to see what's good for your eyeball and you, but the biggest key that I try to tell everybody is keep your ear holes over your shoulders instead of like trying to lean over and things like that. That's where I keep it very simple. Just try to keep these, and I'm not very good at it either. So I do lots of stretching and try to get my shoulder blades back and move my shoulders, but I've had frozen shoulders. So, things like that are a big deal to me. So I just take a break and move a little bit, because ruler work can be a little right in here in this little area. And sometimes I just need to move in general. Right.
Yeah. So Susie, if you're trying to do something and you're like looking like this to try and see past your needle to see where you're going, your machine's not, you need to raise your machine up a little bit. You don't want them way up here, but you don't also want to be all like,
Yeah.
Hunched over and cockeyed trying to see underneath the throat so you can see behind you or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Right. The hunchback, the whole hunch thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If you feel like you're hunched up, your machine's not high enough.
Right. And some people don't have the option of a hydraulic lift, but you can get a stool to maybe potentially help you as well, I would think. So that would be something that you don't have to have necessarily the tools, the equipment, but you've got a tool. It's called that
Okay.
saddle
That
stool.
moment when I just realized Tracey read the same thing I did.
Sorry, Cathy.
Sorry, Cathy. I'm sitting here trying not to laugh. I get it, Debbie. I also like mine really high too. So yeah, being a tall girl, I get that thing way up in the air.
I'm very short. Everything's a boob bar.
Yeah.
And when I raise the Lucy, when I have to raise that for a taller rental customer, if I have to go help them, I always joke that I feel like a little kid at the grown-up people at dinner. Because it's like way up here. Because I'm only 5'1". So everything's up here.
I feel like I have a rental customer that just maxes out that hydraulic lift.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm in the land of the munchkins when I walk over there. Woo!
Yeah, Tracey was making fun of me. I was testing one of her machines when I was there, and I had my feet like 6 feet apart, right? Trying to drop my center mass down because I'm 6 feet tall. She's 5'1", and I was trying to use her machine, and they have hydraulic lifts on them, so it's not like I couldn't raise it, but I kept getting my legs farther and farther and farther apart.
Would you like me to push the button and raise the frame a little bit for you because I don't look very comfortable. You're looking a little awkward.
Looking a little awkward. It is what it is.
See, it's just fun to make fun of ourselves too, I think, with some of that. I love being able to laugh at what I've done and what I've done wrong and be able to share with it and say, ask me how I know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Every moment of every day. I'm one of those people that look like I've gone off their medication.
Yeah.
Trying to get through the day. Oh dear.
Pretty fabulous.
At least we can laugh at ourselves because if we couldn't, we wouldn't make it through our days, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's the option. What's the alternative?
There's not. All right. It is an over an hour. Everybody probably has to get on with their families, but it's awesome that you spent the hour with us, everybody. We love that you did and took time out of your day. That's very important. Oh my gosh, my son maxes out my husband was 6'7", Angela, when we were doing masks on the Longarm, and that guy was still hunched over doing the old man thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had the hydraulic lift the whole way. And he was still, but anyway, so yes, thank you, Gayleen. She said her son is 6'7" and he maxes out. Yes.
Yep.
That's
all right.
Tall.
That is
7. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I don't think I've ever even met anybody that tall.
Yeah, Doug is
He is a tall man.
That's why I joke, sweetheart, that I'm bringing down the gene pool because I'm on your end.
I've been the shortest person in my house since my daughter, who's my youngest, was 11.
Yes,
she went past me. Everybody's over 6 feet. Melanie's 5'11", and then there's me.
I'll send you a picture and show you how the two of us look. We are Mutt and Jeff, but it's all good. All right. So what are some things that people can look forward to so they don't have to just listen to us once a month? We've got other things, right?
Right. We have 3 Quirky Quilters on Mondays. That's our new podcast that we started about 2 months ago now.
Mm-hmm. We've had 9 episodes.
We have 9 episodes. So, a little over 2 months ago now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What else? I thought up that one.
Right. And then subscribe to everybody's YouTube channel. You got Thread Waggle for Angela, Whirls and Swirls for Tracey, and Fabric Bash for Kathy. And we also have the Quilting Academy for the podcast.
Yeah, right.
YouTube channel. So subscribe to the YouTube channels. Share with your friends. The more we get in this community, I love that we share your questions. love talking to you guys this way. I feel like this quilting community, even we have people halfway around the world and it's winter down there and we're getting towards summer up here. We're all still the same. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. Make sure that you join the Quilting Academy if you haven't done that yet.
Mhm.
It's free.
It's free.
All right. It's free to give us a thumbs up and a share.
Mhm.
All those things help. Comment in the description below. And I just know after this goes like off live and is on our YouTube channels, I know there's going to be a lot of comments about the echoing at the beginning of the video. I am so sorry.
We tried.
And
yes, we tried muting everything. We tried. We tried.
We tried muting the phones and all that kind of stuff.
I will film a ruler work basics video and put it up. That's not full of echoes.
Yeah. By the way, Cathy, did you show them your ruler base? You have one sitting right there.
Well, yes, I do.
So you can see what a ruler base looks like when it's not on your machine. Cathy has one sitting there. So
it's kind of hard to see because it's clear. Ours are clear. But
Yeah.
this is where the needle plate goes.
Yeah.
And so then you can see all of this area that you have to work with.
Mm-hmm. Very important. They are there is no
ruler work without it.
Right.
It's non-negotiable.
Yep.
Non-negotiable.
Never use rulers on your long arm, no matter the brand, without the proper ruler base on that. It's dangerous.
Well, there's 3 non-negotiables. You got the ruler base, you got the 1/4 inch foot, and you got the 1/4 inch ruler. Right?
There you go.
3 non-negotiables.
For ruler work. Yes, ma'am.
All right, guys. You guys have a fabulous night. Everybody, thank you for sharing. Have a good night, guys. You guys are fabulous, right?
Oh, Cathy, before you go, show your stickers. Turn it sideways so they can see your stickers.
On my...
So she's got foam stickers inside of it, and you have to do it based on your long arm. Because the bases are handmade, the long arms are handmade, right? When you're talking about APQS long arms. And yes, Susie, if you have a My 19, one was built after 2019, all the bases are the same starting at that point. If you have an APQS machine that is older than that, they're divided into whether or not there's a thread cutter on it. Okay. But you do need to put little foamies in it to make sure that it's snugging up against the sides of yours. And if you looked at Tracey's, hers would probably be in a different place. She's got big long pads. I have the ones like Tracey has on mine, but you need to get it fitted to your specific long arm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not all long arm ruler bases are made
work
for
on all long arms.
all machines. You need to get one specifically for your machine and your year machine.
Right.
They're
So
pretty specific.
Susie, if you have a Juki, you want to get your base from Juki. Okay.
All right. Does that answer any? That'll be great. All right. Let's end with the rules. We are the rule girl. No, I'm just kidding.
Rules are for weenies.
All right. You ladies are fabulous. Thank you for spending the time.
Thanks, everyone. It was great to see everyone there, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
All right.
Check out the podcast.
Check out the podcast. Bye.
Bye.